Rabbi.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everybody, and welcome. It's the last minute rush before Pesach. It's 3-4 days before Pesach, and we'll all have to get ready. And if any Yom Tov, we have the halacha of Shloshim Yom Lifnei Achag, that you have to prepare 30 days in advance. Pesach is the one that's the for sure one. Pesach has many more details, and there's a lot to learn. Even not in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Over there, it was primarily to prepare to make sure you have the proper carbon, because the carbon that you bring has to be clean without a mum. So that was the preparation. But Pesach has so many details that we need the time to be prepared. Now, this year, many people have, I'm sure you've heard speeches and drushes about the specialty of this year. The calendar, how Pesach falls out this year, the next time it's going to happen, the same as 20 years from now. That the first night of Seder should be on a Saturday night on a Motzei Shabbos. That means you have to be aware and have to be focused and prepared from before. The next time there's such a thing is going to happen is 20 years from now. Now, let me tell you, I did find that in one of the Hasidic Svarim, it says, again, you're going to hear a lot of people quote that this is a special time, this is a good time, which is true. But, everybody wants to find their own tidbit. So in one of the Hasidic Svarim, it says, Shabbos Erev Pesach, that if Erev Pesach, the day before Pesach, falls out in Shabbos, then the three first letters of Shin, Ayin, Pei, Shin, Pei, Ayin, spell out the word Shefa. Shefa means an abundance. This is a time that if you do it right, you could acquire abundance of good. Abundance of good. So we don't want to miss this opportunity, and we want to make sure that the Eibishter gave us this time to absorb and to gather up a shefa, an abundance of good. Let's be prepared and let's do it right. Another beautiful thing that we find about Pesach is if a person does not believe, it actually says in Hasidic Svarim that if a person doesn't believe that on the night of the Pesach, you could completely change over, a total makeover from how you were to where you want to be, become better. If a person at any state of the moment believes he's gone, he's lost, so it says in Hasidic Svarim, he should know that is exactly the fourth child of Russia. The Russia thinks that way. On the night of Pesach, we all have the powers to get out of that, and we are able to Pesach, to jump, to take leaps and bounds, which usually you need much more. You need much more Seder, much more system to grow from level to level. On Pesach, we have the powers to leap, to jump, and we have to take advantage of this. Now, many of the things that we do on Pesach, the Rebbe makes a point that throughout the things that we do on the night of the Seder, there are some that are mitzvahs asayim and Torah, some that are a commandment of the Torah, some are a rabbinic custom or rabbinic law, some are just customs. And we show emphasis on all equal. And the Rebbe proves that from the way we structured the questions of the Manashtana. But there is a Hasidic teaching that you'll see sometimes during the saying of the Haggadah, every time you pick up the cup, you raise the cup of wine, the Haggadah gives you an instruction. It says, okay, cover the challah, cover the matzah, and pick up the cup. Mechasin es hamatzos. Sometimes we raise the cup because anytime you say something which is praising or thankful, ein oimim shira ela ala yain. It's always said over a cup of wine. So when we sing and chant something, a form of a thanks or a hallel, we raise the cup. But every time you raise the cup, there is this balance. What's more important, the matzah or the wine? So when we say the Haggadah, as I've said before, the Haggadah has to be said over an open, broken piece of bread, a broken piece of matzah. because the matzah is called lechem oini, the poor man's bread. A poor man only has pieces of bread, and it's called lechem oini. It's a bread that we have speeches to talk about. So when we read the Haggadah, we have the bread, the matzah, uncovered. But when it comes to singing and chanting, we usually cover the matzah and hold the wine. So the term that's brought in the Haggadah over and over again is mechatzin es hamatzos. You cover the matzah and you pick up the cup. So one of the Hasidic interpretations is the matzah is the one mitzvah of the night that's no question a Torah mitzvah. The Torah says that night you have to eat matzah. Drinking of the wine is only rabbinic. And over here we say, you know what? This night you could even cover the matzah, meaning what's important in the Torah, of course, but put emphasis even in the little things, even the things that are only rabbinic, or even things that are customs that are so rich and so informative. We should spend time discussing them and making sure that we know what it's all about. But again, let's talk about the specialty of this year. The specialty of this year is that this year, Erev Pesach is on a Friday. That causes us to be very aware in advance. Now, when I prepared this class, I divided the days into 3 sections. The 3 sections are, actually, it could be 4 sections. It could start already Thursday. Thursday is a regular day, right? Friday, which is Erev Shabbos. Then there is Shabbos. And then there is Saturday night, Shabbos night, when the Seder begins. Usually, it's a 2-step process. The Seder starts tonight. There are some things that we prepare and we have to get rid of the day before. Because the day before, because this year, the day before is Shabbos, a lot what we usually do cannot be done on Shabbos. We got to backtrack and do it a couple of days earlier. So let's start with one of the things you start by doing 2 days earlier. Usually on Erev Pesach, it is customary, there's a din in Shulchan Aruch, that the firstborn fasts. Now, this is very unique. Moshe Chaim, I don't know if there's a chat for this group, if you could post a link. I recorded a video, a halachic short video about this fast, because there is something fascinating about this fast. Usually when you want to commemorate a victory, you celebrate with a festive meal. Over here, we want to commemorate that God saved the firstborn as he was smiting, as he was killing the Egyptian firstborns. He was saving us, our firstborn. And the way we celebrate our victory or our Savior, our salvation, is by fasting. That's untypical. Why is it that we do it that way? And then the details of who's considered the firstborn. So Moshe Chaim, please put a link on this chat so whoever wants to see it. It's now L'Poyel, on a regular Erev Pesach, whether you're a firstborn or you have a firstborn child, you should be fasting, but it's replaced, instead of fasting, it's replaced that you either attend a siyum or you make a siyum, then it becomes a sudas mitzvah, and then you're allowed to eat. So this year, you obviously cannot fast on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to fast. So what should we do? So you could back it up either 1 day or back it up 2 days. Backing it up 1 day would still be a problem because you're not supposed to really fast on Friday, because Friday is Erev Shabbos. You don't want to come into Shabbos starving, hungry. So therefore, if certain fasts, the calendar would make them fall out on Friday, then sometimes it gets pushed. We push away the Friday issue. But since this one is really not even meant to be on Friday, it was meant to be on Shabbos, we are going to back it up. Neil, we'll leave the questions for the end, okay? We're going to back it up 2 days. And whoever fasts or participates in a firstborn fast or a firstborn celebration will do this on Thursday. On Thursday. One backup. Then goes the second backup. The second backup is that usually the night before the Seder, if tonight would be the Seder, last night we would be doing the Bedikas Chametz. We would be searching the Chametz. This year you can't do it because the night of the Seder is going to be Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night. The night before is Friday night. Friday night is Shabbos. On Shabbos you can't use a candle, and the Bedikas Chametz at least has to start with a candle. You can't you can't go searching, or you can't hold a candle on Shabbos. So because of that, we backtrack it to the day before. So when are we going to do Bedikas Chametz? We're going to do it instead of the end of Yud Gimel. Okay, I'm going to see the questions later, okay? Because we're going to do it 2 days before. So Thursday night, we're going to do Bedikas Chametz. Now, let's talk a minute about Bedikas Chametz. Bedikas Chametz, just a little. This is a general discussion about Bedikas Chametz. You learn about the importance of getting rid of the Chametz. We do so many things to get rid of the Chametz. We search for the Chametz. We burn the Chametz. We nullify the Chametz. We sell Chametz. And each one is for a different part of the Chametz, and we want to be crystal clear that we have nothing to do with Chametz on Pesach. Because Chametz, the Arizal says that anybody who is nizhar, anybody who is careful and stays away from the smallest amount of Chametz on Pesach, the Arizal says, Muftach loi, he is guaranteed, shelo yechta kol hashana, that he will not sin all year. Now, who doesn't want to have that guarantee that he won't sin every year? All you have to do is wait 7 days and be extreme careful, and then you have this guarantee. The Rebbe in the Haggadah adds that doesn't make you lose your freedom of choice. If you still decide that you want to be a rebellious person, you still have that possibility. But an Aveira b'shoigig, an unintentional Aveira, will not happen to you if you're super careful on the 7 days of Pesach. Now, this is what the Arizal said. Now, the Kotzker Rebbe adds, it actually works the other way around. If it's such a special person that we know that he's someone who cares about all year not to do any Averas, a person like that, from heaven, they'll also help him make sure not to fail in Chametz and Pesach, because these two things work together. There are proofs from the Psukim why specifically the mitzvah of Chametz, the Isser of Chametz, the prohibition of Chametz is something you have to be so careful, and it protects you from a sin all year. Some say the Haflah says you can learn it from the Psukim. The Torah says, "V'shamarta sachuka azois," be very careful to guard this commandment of Pesach. And then it says, it's a holiday, literally translated, a holiday for many generations, many days. But he translates the Haflah translates that if you take care and you're super careful on these couple of days, this will protect you for the rest of the days of the year. So there are other proofs. There are other commentaries that bring other proofs why specifically this mitzvah protects you from any harm. So you do Bedikas Chametz, you search for the Chametz. This year we're going to do it Thursday night. That's going to create a problem. The reason why we do Bedikas Chametz at nighttime, usually and every year, because it's a catch-22. We want to be able to use candles because there's a pasuk that says that you should use a candle for Bedikas Chametz. So candles during the day, there's no need for it. So we do it during the evening. And the evening is when people are usually done work and they're ready to do the right job. If you tell them to do it in the middle of the day, we're afraid they won't do it properly. So the combination of these reasons, usually B'dikas Chametz is done the night before Pesach. We search for the chametz. That's after we clean for a long time and we put together whatever there is. And we're going to take this tomorrow to burn. Tomorrow morning, we're going to take this to burn. The problem is this year, tomorrow morning is still a day and a half away from Pesach. And if it wouldn't be Shabbos in between, I would tell you, eat macaroons. From then on till the end, eat macaroons. The problem is that on Pesach, the day before Pesach is Shabbos. And on Shabbos, you can't survive and fulfill the commandments of Shabbos and just eating ladyfingers or macaroons. Because on Shabbos, you have to have lechem mishnah. You have to have the double bread. Now, that's very, very problematic this Shabbos. Why? Because matzah, I'm not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to eat matzah Erev Pesach. The reason you're not allowed to eat matzah in Erev Pesach, because the halacha states that you have to enter the night of Pesach, the night of the Seder, when the mitzvah of eating matzah will happen. You have to come in there with a hunger, with a thirst, with an appetite for the mitzvah of matzah. If you eat it all day, if you can eat it sometime during the day, you're not going to have an appetite anymore. So you're not allowed to eat matzah on Erev Pesach. So what am I going to do? I'm not allowed to eat matzah, but I have to have lechem mishnah. So this is going to become very, very tense for some people, because we are going to burn most of the chametz Friday morning, but you're going to leave over enough chametz to have lechem mishnah for Friday night and lechem mishnah for Shabbos morning. Now remember, the Seder, people sort of mix up things. The Seder starts Pesach night. This year, Saturday night it starts. Everything about the Seder is night. But Shabbos will be over, Yom Tov will kick in. A regular week, when the nighttime is when the mitzvahs of eating matzah, drinking wine starts. Chametz, not having chametz doesn't start at the night. Not having chametz starts at the time of the day where they would shech the korban Pesach. Midday the day before. And not only midday the day before, because those who followed along with our Mishnayos class, because we're not so accurate when midday is, we give it a buffer zone an hour or two earlier. So a regular Erev Pesach, we would stop eating chametz an hour or two before midday. So the question becomes, what happens this year? For sure, Shabbos, at that time, you can't have chametz anymore. Because you also have to know, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, when it came out to be Shabbos Erev Pesach, the korban Pesach is one of the few korbanos, rain, snow, or shine. By the way, Minnesota was snowing lately. Even I'm close to Pesach. Yeah. Okay, I'm in California now, so in California there ain't no snow here. Korban Pesach is one of those korbanos that if it falls out even on Shabbos, you bring it on Shabbos. And therefore, if on Shabbos they brought the korban Pesach midday, already that time you can't have chametz anymore. A little before midday, an hour or two before midday, you can't have chametz. So that's for sure that this year on Shabbos, you're going to wake up early. If you're going to look at your shul calendar, it's not going to say the regular 9, 10 o'clock davening shachris. No. By 9, 10, 11 o'clock, you're going to have to be past your meal already, because your meal has to have chametz, and you're not allowed to have chametz then. So you're going to have an early morning minyan. Moshe, here, early morning minyan. No sleeping in. You're going to have an early morning minyan. And then you're going to have the meal. Now, this meal is also going to be, besides the challah rolls, it's also, and what you do with the crumbs, what do you do, what plates, utensils you use then, because you're having challah rolls here. You don't want to have Pesach dishes. And you can't leave any crumbs because on a regular day, you would be burning food. And you can't burn anything on Shabbos. So this is very complex. We're going to talk about that soon. But I just want to, by Shabbos midday, an hour before midday, everybody check your calendar. You cannot have any chametz. You have to be done. Now, you already burnt the chametz a day earlier. Now, there is reason to believe if I'm not burning it on the regular time, I should be burning it at Erev Pesach. But I'm not burning it at Erev Pesach because it's Shabbos. I can't burn the chametz. Maybe I could burn on Friday, 4 in the afternoon, 5 minutes before Shabbos. I'm allowed to eat. Friday, I'm allowed to eat chametz. Even after the burning of the chametz on Friday, you could eat chametz. You could have a slice of pizza. It's not smart. You shouldn't go around eating chametz anymore because you're only going to leave the most limited amount of chametz just that you need for the lechem mishnah. But really, chametz, the prohibition of chametz doesn't kick into tomorrow. But nevertheless, the chachamim established that we are creatures of a routine. And if we're going to make this year, you know what, you could burn the chametz 5 in the afternoon, and it's going to throw us off. So even though we're backtracking the burning of the chametz a day earlier, we want it to be very close to the regular time that you usually do it. Early, right before midday, an hour before midday on Friday, even though it's a day earlier, you're going to burn chametz. You're going to burn the chametz. Okay, so let's start again. The fast we're going to do 2 days earlier. We're going to do it on Thursday for those who fast for a b'char. Thursday night, you're going to search for the chametz. It's already a day earlier, but I can't search the chametz on Friday night. I'm going to put together whatever chametz I found in the bag. And here is a very unique thing. As I mentioned before, that usually we do bidikas chametz, and then we do bitul chametz. Bitul chametz means we nullify it. We actually nullify it twice. Once by night after the searching of the chametz, and a second time tomorrow by day when we burn the chametz. We nullify it twice. Okay? Now, this year, it's going to be an exception. We're going to nullify it the Thursday night when we search for the chametz, but we're not going to nullify it by the burning. Why not? Because you're going to be lying to yourself. You cannot nullify and say, I'm done. You still want some for later. So the second nullification will actually be done on Shabbos. On the time on Shabbos when I'm supposed to get rid of the chametz, I'll be doing it then. Okay? Now here, there is a Hasidic thought that you should think about. Typically, there is the text that you say for the nullifying of the chametz, which is the physical part of the chametz, and then you turn into a spiritual person, and you say a Yehi Ratzon, you say a prayer. What's the prayer? Just like I burnt my chametz, I want to get rid of my evil Knievel Yetzer Hara. My Yetzer Hara is my evil chametz. I hope I got rid of that too. Right? We combine, we say chametz is gaiva, chametz is chutzpah. I want that in the garbage too. Usually it works as you're being mevatel the chametz. This year, when you're going to burn the chametz, you're going to say the Yehi Ratzon, to pray by Yetzer Hara is gone. But the second nullification you won't do till tomorrow. So you're going to be in Aaron, this is so for you. You're going to be for 24 hours, you're going to be in a gray zone. You're not going to have a Yetzer Hara, but you're going to have chametz. Because you got rid of the Yetzer Hara, but you're still going to have chametz for a day. All right. Another interesting discussion about this here Friday is in Mishnayos Pesachim, there is a discussion with Friday. If Erev Pesach is a day that you should not work, are you allowed to work on Erev Pesach? What's the debate? The debate is because why not? Why don't you work typically on Erev Pesach? So there are two reasons. Reason number one is any day a person brought a carbon, it was his holiday. When you brought a carbon to the Beis Hamikdash, it was your holiday. This was your personal holiday. And your personal holiday, you don't work. Okay? Then there's a second reason. The second reason is, what do you mean, Erev Pesach? How can I be busy working? I have to make the murder. I have to make all these things. I'm crazy busy. So now, that is by a typical Erev Pesach. The discussion is, how does that apply this year? Because from one hand, this year I am not the sacrifice of the Pesach is not being done on Friday, because if the Beis Hamikdash comes, it will be done on Shabbos, because that's the real Erev Pesach. But from the other hand, the other issues still apply. A lot of the preparations for Pesach, I can't do on Shabbos. I have to get it all done Friday. So maybe if that's the concern, I shouldn't be working too hard on Friday. Okay, so that is another issue. All right. Let's go now to some more practical stuff. I have my family here. I hope they hear what I say now. It actually is suggested in a lot of Svarim that the Seder table, Rabbi, so you hear this? The Seder table should be ready, prepared, set Friday. Why? Because could you imagine, you're not allowed to prepare the stuff that you need on Shabbos for after Shabbos. Now, when is Shabbos going to be over to this week? Not before 8 o'clock, right? Something like that. Imagine you're only going to come home from shul 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then you're going to start setting the table. And you're not going to start to who knows what time. So some suggested that the table should be set before Shabbos. On Shabbos, because of the complication of what you're eating anyways, eat somewhere in a different room. Eat in a different room, especially that you're eating chametz, maybe out. Beginning when I was starting to find a place where to give the shiur, I almost gave the shiur to the garage. Why? Because that's where I'm sitting all day learning, typing. There's a very famous shuvah from the Noid Rabbi Yehuda, and the Noid Rabbi Yehuda says, responds to somebody, he says, I'm answering you from the cuff because my wife kicked me out because they're cleaning my library. Where my books are, I can't be in my regular place. So some days you have to adjust. You have to be more flexible. If you want the Seder to start on time and all that, then Friday, then Shabbos, you be a little more flexible.
The Seder table's already set.
My wife says the Seder table is already set. Or I thought she'll say the Seder table will be set when I set it. Okay, now that's just practical setting up a table, just the layout. But there are some halachic issues, really interesting halachic issues. I want to go through, when you look at what you need for the kaira, let's discuss some of the halachic issues that you have to be prepared for Friday. We have matzah, we have mor, we have beitza, we have zroya, charoisis, all these things. Think about it. When do we usually, let's start with the matzah. For those who just finished learning Hilchos Shabbos with me, so this will be interesting. What happens when you come home, when you want to set the kaira? You look for matzahs. What do you look for? You look for whole matzahs, make sure they're not chipped. Whoa. It's not such a simple thing that you're allowed to separate and choose. First of all, you can't do anything on Shabbos for Yom Tov. Even on Yom Tov, not so sure you could do that. So if you want to separate and choose, prepare matzahs, it should be done before Yom Tov. It should be done Friday. That's matzah. Let's go maror. Maror. Grinding of the maror. Grinding of the maror, you're definitely not allowed to do it on Shabbos for the night. So when are you going to grind it? You come home, you're going to start peeling the horseradish and start grinding it? No. So the grinding of the maror has to be done on Friday. Now, technically, Moshe here is a big maven in maror. Technically, time makes the bitterness of the maror, diminishes the bitterness. So if you're going to do it Friday in the middle of the day, late afternoon or whatever, and tight seal it so it should in some kind of bucket or whatever, that it should be tightly sealed, that you can't grind the maror on Shabbos, and you're not going to come home Shabbos night, much as Shabbos, and start grinding the maror either. So that is the maror. Let's go next. Let's go to the zroya. Now, some people have a shank bone, some people have this, some people have that. Whatever it is, people have, whatever they use for zroya, it's roasted. Now, I'm just going to show you a tidbit that people don't think. You're allowed to roast food on Pesach. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to. But if you have a kosher Pesach grill, you could, even on Yom Tov, you're allowed to grill. So what are you going to do? You're going to come home Motzei Shabbos, 8:30 at night, and you'll grill now your shank bone. You're going to grill now your neck, your chicken neck. Even if you're allowed to, in this particular case, you cannot. Why? You're only allowed to grill food on Shabbos. You're only allowed to grill food on Yom Tov, food that you're going to eat. But over here, the shank, the neck, this roya, we don't eat. You can't make a fire to grill something just for the sake of grilling. You're only allowed to prepare food to eat. So another thing you have to be aware, make sure to grill this roya Friday. And then there's also the eggs. The eggs, so the custom is really that by Shulchan Aruch, we eat the egg. But saving time would definitely be best. That you have the egg all prepared before Shabbos. You shouldn't necessarily peel the egg, because peeling the egg before Shabbos and leaving it overnight has another problem. So you should you should have a clear mindset how to do all the things before Shabbos. Paraisus, if you have everything ground already, you're just mixing it together, you really could do it on Motzei Shabbos. But again, you're only getting home too late. Why do this all last minute? Best to do it on Friday. Some of the things you could even do before Friday. The maror, I wouldn't suggest you to do too early. That's the matzah, maror, charoises. All these things should all be. Now, it's very important to note that a lot of times the man is in shul still davening Ma'ariv, Motzei Shabbos, and the women are aware that the husband's going to come home. It's going to take time, so they start. For them, Shabbos finished earlier, so they want to rock and roll. They cannot start doing anything until they say the Baruch HaMavdil. They have to say their Havdalah, because until they say their Havdalah, at least the verbally Baruch HaMavdil B'Kodesh L'Kodesh, for them it's still Shabbos. They're still not allowed to do Malacha. So you can't do anything until you exit Shabbos. All right. What else? One of the big complications that there is this year is Suda Shlishis. Suda Shlishis is for those who are makbid to have 3 meals on Shabbos. You have one Friday evening, Shabbos day, and Shabbos afternoon. This year, Shabbos afternoon, you definitely cannot eat matzah. You definitely cannot eat chametz. What are you going to do? So I think this year, most of the world are going to become Lubavitchers. Why? Because Lubavitch, we have the minute in Shalosh Shudas every year, every Shabbos, you fulfill the custom by studying, by learning. The Zohar, there is a Zohar. The Zohar says like this in Parashas Emor. If the Zohar says that if Erev Pesach fell out in Shabbos, Amar Rabbi says, Hachi hava Abid Rav Shimon. This is what Rav Shimon ben Yochai used to do. Misader Peture, he would set his table, and ve'eshtadel b'maiser rekova, and he would discuss heavenly matters. V'hava Omar, and he would say, Ha sudas of the Malka. This is the third meal of the king, the third meal of Shabbos. So, because of this compass, others have pulled out different tricks. They either split the morning meal in two, or they eat fruit, whatever. But this is what's brought. There's some sofer about this. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But this is because of it being Shabbos, and you can't eat matzah, and you can't eat chametz, this is one of the ways around it. All right. Rabbi Sai, those are some of the halachas that we have to be aware of this year. I want to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes just tell you a couple of nice things on the Haggadah itself. I saw a beautiful vart from the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says that over here, there's a big emphasis on the children, the Arba Banim, right? And Ma Avoida Zois Lachem. So I saw the Chassam Sofer saying, Pshat is like this. Avodim hayinu l'paro b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves. When a slave does a job, he does whatever he's told to do. Is he excited to do it? No. Does he want to do? Does he do extra? No. He does whatever his master wants, and he'll do it, and that's it. He's not excited. He'll definitely won't overdo it. It won't get him anywhere. He does what it is. So here the kids come along and say, whoa, 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 says the Chassam Sofer. The kid comes along and says, now, me? The mature people, the ones who are over bar mitzvah, they have mitzvahs. They have mitzvahs. They're commanded. When they're commanded, okay, let them do the Seder. Let them eat the matzah. Let them eat the mar. Because they're bar mitzvah, they're bar chiyuvim. They're obligated. But over here, you're schlepping me. I'm a shnuchik. I'm under bar mitzvah. Keep me out of. I mean, he's not rebellious. He's saying, why am I getting involved? Why is there such an emphasis here to me? And the answer is, says some Sefer, that's exactly the point. This is how we show we're not an Eved anymore. An Eved only does what it's supposed to do, and not more. We're going to reach out and bring in people who we have to. Are not Yehuda,
yes,
we hear you. Tonight we make such an emphasis to schlepping people who are not commanded, kids, and we say you play a role. You know why you play a role? Because tonight is not anymore bleh. Tonight we're doing it because we want to do it. Tonight we're doing it because we're interested. We have a flame. We have a thirst to do more and more and beyond what we're supposed to do. And that's why we schlepp the kids in. All right. That is one word I saw from the Chassam Sofer. And you remember everything of the night of Pesach, even though it's small details, we have to know it's very rich. The Rebbe brings from the Maril. The Maril said, don't overlook any small detail of the night of what we do in the night of Pesach, because every small detail has loads and loads of lessons and teachings. And you think about it, it says in Sfarim that chametz and matzah both have the same three letters, very similar. There's only a bit of a difference. They both have the letters mem and tzadik, but one of them is a chaf, a ches. Ches is closed. The second one is a hey. Matzah is with a hey. The difference between a hey and a ches is a bit, a small opening separates a chametz from the matzah. So in Sfarim it says that this teaches us that don't let that little thing pass by, and definitely don't let the little chametz around. Everything has a rhyme and a reason. The night of Pesach is called Leil Shimurim. Leil Shimurim means the night that's guarded, the night that's protected. And in the Tefera Shleima used to say that this night, if you do it well, if you do it correct, gives you the koyach for Shimurim, that the rest of the year should be protected. You should be protected from harm the rest of the year. One of the nice pirushim, that we make on the night of the Seder, it's one of the few times that we start off the Seder by saying the simanim. We give a code that you should remember what's the order. Kadesh, Orchat, Karpas. We go through the order. And we make it very systematic. So, first of all, it's brought in Chassidish Sfarim. Why is it called simanim? Because simanim, when halakhically, when you lose an item, the way you're able to get it back is if somebody else finds it, you give your siman, you give your sign, your code that this is proof, this is yours, you'll get it back. Tonight of the Seder, every Yid has a siman, and he'll be returned. If he just only identifies himself like a Yid, he'll be returned to the highest of high. So amongst the simanim that we say Kadesh, you make Kiddush or Chatz, you wash your hands. Karpas, you dip the vegetable, right? So I'll tell you a Chassidish shot on these words. Kadesh or Chatz. This is from the holy Rabbi Mendel Miriminov. If a person wants to become holy, Kadesh, and he wants to wash himself off of his past, Karpas, get ready for this one. Karpas has 4 letters. Chaf, Reish, Pei, Samach. You ready, Chaya? Karpas. What's Karpas? Klal Rishon. The first rule you have to know is Peh Sasum. Keep your mouth shut. That's the first rule to stay out of trouble. I once saw a bumper sticker, and the bumper sticker says, even a fish in the water knows that he would stay out of trouble if he kept his mouth shut. So, Klal Rishon Peh Sasum. And Yakatz Magid. And if you do want to say something, you feel you have what to say, Yakatz. Cut it in half. Cut it in half. You don't have to say everything at your mind, right? And it goes on with so many more beautiful Purushim. Let's go weiter. The night of the Seder is such a special time. I read a very interesting story of one of the tzaddikim that a Yid came to him and he gave him a note asking him for bracha. And he sees that the Yid's name is Menashe Pesach. So the tzaddik says to him, Menashe Pesach is Nishkei Namen. That's not a real name. What do you mean? It's his name. He came back a week or two later. He shows him, he writes the note. He says, Menashe Pesach, Nishkei Namen. Just imagine getting that feeling from the tzaddik. A couple of weeks later, he happens to be getting called up to the Torah right next to the tzaddik, and they call him Yamoid Menashe Pesach. Right after he finished the Aliyah, the tzaddik makes him Mishaberach, and he changes his name to Zechariah Pesach. He says, what's going on, Rebbe? Menashe Pesach is my name from the bris. She says, Menashe Why was Menashe called Menashe? Because Noshani Elikim, God forgot me. But forgot. Pesach is not something you ever allowed to forget. So I switched it to Zechariah Pesach. Always remember Pesach. All right? Now, we know about the 4 sons, and there's a lot that you're going to hear and read about. There's a very fascinating book called Haggadah Points that you can read, beautiful Pirushim on the Haggadah, about the 4 sons, the Chacham, the Rasha, the Tzaddik, and the Tam, and the She'enei Dei Elishel. My favorite new speech, I heard this, here he goes. He even has it. Aaron Dukes has it. He's showing off the Haggadah Points. Yeah. Oh, you also have it. Oh, beautiful. So it's interesting to note that the 4 sons, Chacham, Rasha, Tam, She'enei Dei Elishel, if you take the first letter from each one of them, it spells Shachris, the morning prayer. I don't think I wrote that in that book. Shachris is the morning. Shin is She'enei Dei Elishel. The Ches is the Chacham. The Reish is the Rasha, and the Taf is the Tam. What's the significance? That we hope, the Belzer Rebbe said that this is a time when we hope and pray that that we'll have all the kids in all our descendants will come to shul and pray with us. You know that there's a very famous teaching. There's a very famous teaching from the Kloisenberger Rebbe. The Kloisenberger Rebbe once said, you know, when we read the curses in the Torah, it says terrible things, God forbid, will happen when the Yidden don't keep the Torah. So it says over there a very scary thing. And God forbid, you'll eat the flesh, you'll eat the meat of your children. It will be such a hunger. So the Kloisenberger Rebbe says it's well known that every one of these brachas also has depth. Oh, every one of these curses really has a bracha there. How can you turn this around into a bracha? So he says he came to America. He survived the Holocaust, and we know the tragedy that happened. That many people downgraded their Yiddishkeit, and people who were very religious in the old country came to a situation where the children weren't religious anymore. So he says this is the blessing. The blessing is it'll come a time that you'll be able to eat meat by your children. You'll be able to trust everybody's hechsher. So maybe this is the same thing. Shachris, whoever the kid is, whatever group he falls into, he will all be there together to pray. Now, the secret is, 1 minute, that in the Haggadah, it doesn't say anywhere about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, who really is perhaps the Goyal Rishon, and he was the main player to take us out of Mitzrayim, is not mentioned in the Haggadah. Why not? So there are reasons. Some say because the only person who was able to fulfill the mitzvah of Higadah Levincha the first year was Moshe Rabbeinu. Because everybody else was there. What are you going to tell your kids the story? They were with you. Moshe Rabbeinu's kids were not there. So because he was the first one to fulfill the mitzvah, he didn't put himself as part of the story. But Moshe Rabbeinu is merely hinted in the last word, in the last simon. Nirtza. Nirtza is when we do all that we're asked to do in the night of the Seder. We do it properly, we prepare properly. We are accepted. God accepts us and promises us that he'll bring us Lashana above Yerushalayim, and Nirtza is the same numerical value as Moshe. So Moshe is mentioned in a hidden way in the Haggadah. Okay? So Rabbi said there's so much to learn. Whatever you learn is all a tip of the iceberg. Remember, this year, Shabbos being a day before, it's a school for many, many shefa, extra abundance of blessings. Just be prepared and come ready and all good. Everybody should have a kosher and feilach and Pesach. Who wanted to ask a question? Neil, you want to ask a question?